Hi everyone and welcome to the latest GuestFlow webinar. Today we're discussing how to 3 times your short stay rental business and some of the strategies that you might need around how to optimize your business, the importance of doing it in the first place, and then some solutions as well. So this is going to be suitable for all people in property, especially if you're running a rental business. And our conversations today are going to be around short-term rentals, but there's going to be a lot of lessons here that can be applicable in most business types. So welcome my co-founder, my co-host, Rashpal Sidhu. How's it going, mate?
Yeah, very well, thank you.
Good.
And one thing I guess to add here is that we're putting this webinar together with a little bit of a Tokeet slant because we have just officially launched as a Tokeet partner, which is great news.
Absolutely, yeah. So Tokeet are fantastic property management system, channel manager, and GuestFlow is an official partner now. So yeah, it's very, very exciting. I think first of all, let's frame it out, right? We want to go through some of the pain points that various business owners may have experienced or be experiencing right now, and really what's stopping business owners from reaching their full potential.
Yeah.
And from there, we'll get into some key strategies and solutions that every short stay business owner really ought to focus on. So stick around and we'll get into it. And of course, any questions, just ask them in the chat as we go. And we will make sure if we don't get back to you in this webinar, we'll definitely get back to you. So, Rash, why is it important in the first place to optimize your business?
Yeah, cool. So one of the things that stops and prevents businesses scaling is, it's the growth. It's the noise that comes with trying to grow your business. Bottom line is, if you want a successful short stay business, you need more bookings. That's the crux of it. In order to get more bookings, the best way is to have fantastic reviews, right? If you've got guests leaving you 5-star reviews on the OTAs, like your booking.coms and your Airbnbs, and you get that superhost status, etc., that encourages other guests to book with you. And that's kind of like that little flywheel that you need to get going where your growth comes from, right? It's perception for anybody who's considering booking with you. Now, the best way to get 5-star reviews is to deliver a great service. And that's ultimately what you're trying to do. If you can deliver a great guest experience, a great service to your guests, you'll get those 5-star reviews and you'll get more bookings. So this is the crux. And it becomes more difficult to deliver that fantastic world-class service as you grow because there's more things that you need to do. When you're small, when the business is small, it's relatively easy to stay on top of things because, it's mostly the founders of the business that are dealing with everything from a day-to-day perspective. They're super focused on delivering a fantastic experience for their guests. They stay on top of things. They've mostly got it in their heads. They don't need to necessarily write a lot down. They're dealing with 1 or 2 or 3 bookings a week. It's relatively easy to manage. As soon as you start to scale and you go from 1 or 2 rentals to 10, let's say, that's the point where all of a sudden you have a lot of things to think about. And that's where the ball starts to drop. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's not just scaling. It's obviously we've got businesses and we've got a customer that's just joined GuestFlow who will be running, a retreat centre, and so they've got a lot of people coming and going, but for them it's all about that absolute 5-star service from the moment they book all the way through the customer journey. And so streamlining for them is about ensuring that personal touch, even if they need to or want to step away from their business and hand over to their team. So streamlining and growth is sometimes just about the team, growing the team and growing that service level, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then, so if we dig into some of the pain points as you scale, one of the big things is needing to know exactly where every guest is in their journey. And when we talk about a guest journey, very high level, what we're talking about is, the point of booking is the start of that journey. Okay, what do you need to do? What do you need to communicate once you receive that new booking? What do you need to do before they arrive? Yeah, so you need to know where they are in that journey so that you can handle all of the communication, all of the tasks that you need your guests to complete, as well as your team to complete. You need to know exactly where you are on that journey, up to arrival, shortly after arrival, during their stay, coming up to departure, at departure, after departure. You need to know exactly where that guest is in that journey, and you need to know that at a glance, right?
At a glance.
That determines what you're doing next, right? And what needs to be done still.
Yeah. I look at Centre Parks and their model, and sometimes I think, that they've nailed it there because everyone's arriving on the same day and departing on the same day. But that's not the reality for most people in hospitality. Every day, you've got people at separate points in that journey with different things that need to be done, whether they're automatic steps or indeed things that you or your team want to do to ensure that 5-star stay, right? So
Yes.
I guess as you start adding more people and you've got multiple properties and you're juggling, I think at one point I mapped out the customer journey, all the if this then that, and arranging housekeeping, the linen. I think at that point there was like 76 steps on it, right? And if I've got customers across multiple properties at every step along the way with various things to do, and then different people in the business doing those things or some things or not doing them, it becomes really difficult to know what's been done and also what's my priority. I can see there's lots of things that need to be done here, but what's my priority, right?
Absolutely, and we're just talking about the guest journey here. There's, if you're a management business, you've also got to consider what you're going to do for your clients, right? So it gets immensely complicated. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
and the thing here is that what tends to happen is, as you grow, you have multiple team members. Obviously, so this is the service sector. We're in the hospitality industry, and at the end of the day, it's a never switch off business. It's running 24/7, right? You need somebody available to be able to answer problems that guests might have at any point, any day of the week, and not only that, but if you've got check-ins, people arriving in the middle of the night from different countries and things like that, you need to make sure you've got somebody on hand to be able to support that. So you start having shifts, right? So you've got people on shifts. Some people might work part-time, only work 2 or 3 days for you. Some people work later in the evening. Some people work earlier in the day. So having that ability to convey between, all of the information from one shift to the other shift is where we start to have businesses develop what's kind of called a handover process, right? Where it's like, right, I'm coming off shift, but Mr. Smith still hasn't paid. He said he's going to call me later to do that, right?
The dreaded handover. The dreaded handover.
Absolutely. So all of this gets written down, right? Shift 1 or whoever it is on that shift is writing everything down to hand over where everybody is in their journey to shift 2. And that handover process is it's a natural, seems fairly logical solution, right? But there's problems with that.
It's not scalable. It's not scalable, is it?
Absolutely. Has all the information been conveyed? Has the person receiving the information understood it, or maybe they've misunderstood it, right? Maybe they've misinterpreted something, right? And that's where problems start to happen. It's a break point. That handover is a break point. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think what inevitably starts to happen as these additional processes get brought into a business and things organically grow like that without the proper strategic approach to systemization is, it's just, you feel like you end up better off if you just do it all yourself, right? You can't quite trust others to take over, and you just feel like you always have to micromanage and just monitor absolutely everything because those processes, those systems just aren't really in place. And everything is manual, and things get missed all the time, right? So
it's a shame because that stunts your growth, right? Like, but it's natural to want to protect that amazing business that you've built.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Well, what a lot of business owners start to do then is they go, right, systems, automation, and I need an app for this and an app for that. And,
Yeah.
you've got something for, your housekeepers, you've got something for your other tasks in your business, maybe updating listings or calling guests back. And you've got something for text messages and something else for email. And something for communicating with your team, maybe something else to communicate with the housekeepers. And you end up with a lot of app sprawl, and what leads to what we call app overwhelm, quite honestly, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so you start to try and solve the problem, as you say, with apps, tools. You bring in more tools. How can I fix this problem with tools? And it's good. It inevitably will help, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then the problem becomes lots of tools, lots of information in lots of different systems.
Yeah.
And it starts to go out of sync, right? So
Out of sync,
and So
I guess what I like to say is, if you're not proactive, you're reactive. Well, it's very difficult to be proactive if you've got a guest on the phone and you need to go and check 5 or 6 different systems to see what the latest interaction has been with that guest or what the history is.
Exactly.
That's where things start to break down, right?
Exactly. Like guests let us know that they're going to arrive earlier than expected, right? So you update one system to say early check-in, but nobody told the housekeeper. The housekeeper's not aware because they're on a different system. So the guest arrives early and it's not been cleaned.
Yeah. And I think this is why when we say things get missed and business owners feel like they can't hand over, they can't trust a team to do things, this is sometimes the reason why. Because as a business owner, we might think, well, yeah, I will go and check all the systems, or I did that, so I remember what happened. But it's not scalable, right? So inevitably, if you don't solve this, right, what happens? Guests start to get frustrated. They don't feel like they're being served very well. They don't feel like you've got your act in order.
Yeah, and then back to where we started, which is ultimately what happens, right? Guests get frustrated, not receiving the service that they expected. Bad reviews, get left, and then other guests see those who want to stay with you, see those bad reviews, and discount you, and that leads to a downward spiral, right? So you spent all that time and energy building these amazing 5-star reviews, getting those superhost statuses on different platforms, and all of a sudden it just starts to unravel, right? And once you get 1 or 2 bad reviews, it's very difficult to come back from that. You've got a lot of work to do. So it's really, really important to get this right.
So let's be constructive here, Rash. Let's give our audience some strategies, right? And processes and things that every business owner can start to look at and implement, and will probably find benefit from doing so, right? So first and foremost, let's get into it. We want to define workflows, processes. Yeah, it can be difficult, but how do you recommend, Rash, people start?
Yeah, so we've got 3 strategies here: define workflows, implement systems, and focus on the personal touch. So right, these come kind of like one after the other, right? You do need to be able to understand what your workflow is. Okay, that's the first thing. And in order to do that, really, it's pen to paper, right? You've got to get this written down and mapped out. Okay, the kind of things that we need to define here are, the way that you break your guest journey down, into chunks, right? Most short stay businesses will understand that there's stuff you do before arrival, there's stuff you do at arrival, or just before and just after, during their stay, and departure. Those are the kind of 3 building blocks, but every business is slightly different. Right, so you might have something that is 1 day prior to arrival, and something specific that you do there. So you need to break that journey down into its segments, okay? And once you've broken the journey down into its segments, you've got to start writing down, right, how am I communicating to the guest and what am I communicating to the guest? Start writing down what your messaging, guest communication looks like during, throughout that process, throughout that workflow. And that's really where you want to start. How does the guest know what I'm expecting of them and what they should expect of me during that stay, right? So that's kind of step one, really. Break it down.
Break it down, and don't necessarily jump straight to a flow diagram, right? Which is what I alluded to earlier. It's not. It gets way too out of hand too quickly.
Keep it simple, right?
Really simple. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need to go into, super detail, like, 1 day before arrival, 5 minutes before arrival. You don't need to get that detailed. Your first stab at this is just high level, right?
High level. So, like bullet point list then, Rash. So you've got a new booking coming in. What's all the things that you'd like to do or have happen in your business when a new booking comes in? Don't worry about necessarily the order or what feeds off what. Just what's the things that need to happen, right? And you go on from there. Yeah.
Yeah. So messaging, I would go with messaging first. So do that, and then as you say, the tasks. So if you've received a new reservation, what do you need to do, right? So let's say it's somebody arriving next week. You've got a decision then, right? Book your housekeeper, right? So maybe that's something that you do as soon as you receive a booking. Just make sure that I've got somebody available to be able to do the housekeeping.
Yeah.
Maybe like 7 days prior to arrival, you're sending out a check-in request, right? It's an online check-in request to your guest. So send check-in requests. Literally, just write it down. Right? What are the tasks? What are the things that you need to be doing throughout that journey?
You mentioned
the way to the end. Yeah, sorry, go.
No, it's cool. I was just saying, you mentioned doing this on pen to paper. Is there any tools that you'd recommend online if people are working together remotely?
Yeah. I mean, we in our business use Miro quite a bit. I love Miro. Miro is a great tool. It's a whiteboarding tool, very simple to use, but you can use anything really. This is a visual thing, right? It's drawing, boxes and things like that, and arrows. not a process flow diagram. We don't need to go to that level of detail, but yeah, just have it there, or even just get some sticky notes on a wall, right? Just it's as simple as that. Yeah, if you're working together and you can work together in the same place, then definitely do that. So that's basically what you do. The other thing as well, be mindful of who is doing what as well, right? So, guest comms task, or is it a housekeeping task, or is it a maintenance task, or is it etc. Right?
And then it's where I guess you're going to keep the information and how you're going to maintain that, right?
Correct. So then you're right. It's thinking about what's the information that's going to be required to complete that task, right? So if we're sending a check-in request, what information do I need, right? I need to know when they booked. I need to know the guest's name, email address, right?
Yeah.
I need this information so that I can actually request that check-in. That check-in request, right? So,
And sometimes businesses are putting in additional kind of rules, you might call it, right, or conditions. So potentially a good example is a lot of people historically never collected security deposits for Airbnb because they didn't like it back then. I think it is allowed these days, but still a lot of businesses choose not to do that, right? So that's where then we call those conditions.
Absolutely. It's a good point you make there as well. Just like, sometimes the things that you do for different OTAs is a little bit different. Right, so you might want to be, which is one level of detail down. It's the high level thing, which is you do for all of your guests, but actually you might not take a payment, for example, for Airbnb because you're getting a payout, right? So that might be something that you don't do. So you might want to have this mapped out in a slightly lower level of detail for each of the OTAs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Okay, so let's roll forwards, and I guess it's time to implement systems, right? So you want to execute your world-class processes now, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. So now it's thinking about the systems, right? So as an example, which system in your software suite of systems that you might have in your business are you going to use to send messages? right? You need to make some decisions. It may be that you have more than one system that can send a message, right? And then it's deciding which system is sending which message. But also making sure that you keep, one eye on being able to know where all of the have visibility of all of the messages that have been sent, right? And that's where making sure that your systems are integrated properly and syncing information is really, really important. If you can't achieve that with the systems that you have, then you need to make sure that you look for systems where that is possible, or maybe consider, a whole new system for messaging, right? Where all of the messages that your guests are receiving are all in one place, rather than this fragmented approach. Yeah, you've got to be thinking about, how will I know which messages have been sent and which messages are still to be sent, right? You need to be able to get that visibility. So it's picking the system, it's making sure that the information between systems is being synced, right, as part of that system setup. That's very, very important.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. And then, of course, automation, right? A lot of people talk automation, and we've got the obvious things, but if actual tasks can be progressed, and so that everyone is singing from the same hymn sheet, and I think some intelligent automation, if you like, it can be a game changer. This is how you get your whole team up to date, right? So that actually you're not reliant on manual things to be done, and if it's not done, everything falls apart, right? So they're the things that need to be automated, and the things that are just done regularly, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, messaging is a good example. Do you really need somebody to send that confirmation message to say, hey, thanks, or can that be automated?
Yeah.
What else can be automated, right?
Yeah.
Once you've got your system set up, for your messages, for keeping track of your tasks, for your team communications, all of these different things that you need to be able to do in order to be able to deliver that great guest experience, then whatever can be automated will take that strain off your team, right?
Yeah.
So that they can focus on managing the guest and any issues that the guest might have that are kind of outside the normal process, right? Additional requests, reporting problems, those kinds of things. Yeah, you want to be able to handle those.
But I think where it really starts to come together is when those manual steps are required, right? That then, as a result of whatever outcome, things are automated, right? So we're not needing people to do necessarily so much joined up thinking. If they're busy, phone's ringing non-stop, and I've just declined an ID, I don't want to necessarily have to then manually go and tell the guest, right, I've declined your ID because the image came through blurry. I want an automated result, right? We know what needs to happen next. There's no need to necessarily action that, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. So, trigger-based automation, right? So I've done this action, I've declined, and off the back of that, that's triggered a message to the guest to say, very sorry, your image was blurry, please can you resubmit it? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then, of course, it's, if these things are too complicated, then that inhibits your growth as well. So it's got to be simple. It's got to be simple to use. It's got to be simple to train the team on. It's got to be intuitive, right? You don't want to necessarily have to keep referring to SOPs and instruction manuals and asking for how to do something. It should all just be there and easy. Yeah,
it's important to pick systems that are easy to use. 100%.
Absolutely.
And that can be a challenge, right? Software can sometimes be complicated. The short stay is not a simple business model. It can be a complicated business model.
Absolutely.
So picking the right system is very, very important as well. Yeah.
And so if this is done right, you start to avoid the need for teams to have to do all of this manual handover, right? Instead, you want systems that capture everything and just make it easily accessible. So everyone is kept up to date. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. Absolutely. 100%. The system keeps track of everything that's happened. Yeah, all the systems keep track of everything that's happened, everything that needs to happen. Notes are captured. Spoken to the guest. They've requested an early check-in. Updated the system. Given new check-in time. Housekeeper gets notified. All of that's happening. You know what's happened. You know that the housekeeper's been notified. You know that the guest requested an early check-in at a glance. You just pick up and look at it. Look at the system, and all the information about what's happened, who's done it, why they've done it is all captured, right? And in that way, as you say, you don't need a handover. Yeah, because a handover is a break point. You don't want that handover with your business. You want it to be seamless. Shift 1 finishes, shift 2 comes online, guest phones them, open the guest reservation, all the information to hand.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, as you scale, if you are scaling, it's really important to just keep an eye on systems and the costs of these systems. Yeah, you don't want that to get out of hand, and
yes,
it's important to choose systems according to what the pricing will look like as you scale. There's a famous, not a lot of people know it's called freemium as a pricing model, but there's some apps out there that seem incredibly good value at that freemium level. There's a certain CRM that comes to mind, but then as soon as your business does take off and you're busier than you'd like to be to migrate systems, suddenly you're off a cliff edge, right? And it's these things can get very, very expensive.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really important once you've got that process mapped out to start thinking about your systems long term, right? And the choices that you're making, because the cost will inevitably go up. I mean, that's good. It's not a bad thing, because you're effectively using more features potentially of the software that you might choose. But yeah, just keeping an eye on that. If you've got lots and lots of systems that have lots of overlap that you've picked because this system's great at this, but it's not great at this, so I'm going to go for this system, but there's a lot of overlap, you're paying for that overlap.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, it's important to consider what systems you're getting and not let it get out of control. Yeah.
Absolutely. And look, as a business owner, you get this right, it enables you to focus on the highest value tasks, right? Only. So you know that you are working on what is the most important thing. Now, to you, that might actually be the personal touch, right? Which let's talk about that, Rash. So standard processes, great systems. It does allow you to turn your attention to personalising the guest experience. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, personal touch is really important. So we talk about personal touch here. What we mean is that that the guest feels special, right? They don't want to feel like every man and their dog, right? They want to feel like you care about them. You can achieve this with some level of automation, absolutely, right? But the reality is, if you get your workflow understood and you implement the right systems, then all of the kind of day-to-day, mundane, very important tasks that need to get done at the right time get done. And that lets you, as a business owner, and your team then focus on being able to say, you know what, I think that guest needs my attention, so I'm going to contact them. I'm going to call them. I'm going to help them. They can't find the property. Instead of some automated chatbot that's saying, here's the address of the property again, right? You can just step in and give them a call and make them feel special, make them feel like that you care about them.
Yeah.
And also it's going to help them, having somebody on hand to be able to talk to. And you can only achieve this, and can only have the time to do this if you get strategy 1 and 2 right. Okay, and that's what we're trying to achieve here.
Mm.
The other thing as well is, you with good systems and good controls in place, right? You can then empower your team to make decisions, right? To think about ultimately delivering that amazing guest experience that's going to lead to that 5-star review. If a guest is arriving for a special occasion, have your team have the ability to send them a bunch of flowers for arrival, right? Or if they've had a poor experience, empower them to be able to provide them that discount. Say we're really, really sorry. We're going to discount your stay because we've dropped the ball, right? It's being able to do that and having all of that recorded so you can see what the outcome of those decisions that your team are empowered to make is. Did that work? Did it lead to a great customer, a great happy customer, right? And it's all recorded in that system so that you can actually track these decisions that your team are making. That's really important as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, always make sure you ask for a review. But a well systemized business will make sure that you are actually tracking that has been done, and if it's outstanding, who's done it, when did they do it, and the results of that. Ultimately, this will lead to more bookings, more growth, right? So, great.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So let's talk about solutions now. So we've gone through why, right? The pain if you don't do this. Some kind of really great strategies here, and something that every business, I'm sure, will benefit from looking at. Even if they've done this work before, these things can always be refined and improved. But let's talk about solutions now. A real way to actually start implementing some of this stuff. Of course, we're here talking about Tokeet and GuestFlow and our official partnership now, which is very exciting. So, Rash, talk us through the difference, Tokeet, GuestFlow.
Yes. So obviously, there's lots of solutions out there, and ultimately, where we've, with our experience of short stay and our understanding of this business, we feel that a PMS alone isn't enough. PMSs do a fantastic job of what we call kind of like getting the booking, right? But then delivering the experience, typically you're going to need another solution, right? So the solution we're kind of talking about here is a combination of using Tokeet and GuestFlow together. It can be different solutions, but we're going to go into some of the details here. So, Tokeet is a fantastic channel manager PMS, okay? But it doesn't do the guest experience management, the CRM bit that GuestFlow does. So Tokeet is a tool. It's fantastic for managing your listings, syncing those listings into all of the channels, hooking them up to the OTAs, setting your pricing, doing your rate syncs, plugging into tools like PriceLab to manage your pricing, automatically, using the multi-calendar to be able to place and move bookings about. Fantastic, really, really simple interface with Tokeet. Automations, can handle payments. So all of that side of your guest experience and managing the receiving of that booking and managing where the booking is, Tokeet, fantastic, and it's at a fantastic price point as well. It's one of the best value products as far as we are concerned on the marketplace for handling all of that side of things. And then where GuestFlow comes in is to manage and deliver that guest experience, right? So we talked about earlier that need to be able to, at a glance, see where every one of your guests is in their journey. Where is that reservation? Is it pre-arrival? Is it in-stay? Is it departure? Right? That's what GuestFlow provides you. It's that visibility.
Yeah.
So I'll let you talk a little bit about that.
No, it's fine. I mean, look, GuestFlow. It is about. It's not replacing anything that Tokeet does at all. It's a companion app because we want to be able to just keep track of all the tasks that need to be done across the business. So not just housekeeping and the obvious ones, but literally everything that you might want to do to ensure the booking is being handled correctly. Everything that Absolutely. You might want to ensure that the so it's about being proactive, not reactive. And if you want, whether it's a courtesy call, it's around arranging those flowers that you mentioned earlier, Rash.
Yeah.
And who organised this? Is there an invoice for this, or is it complimentary? And what related tasks are there to that? Is it who's doing it? It's the housekeeper. Okay, so knowing when you're dealing with that, everything else that's happened with that reservation at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's you've got your guest journey and you can see what needs to be done. Yeah. So we know that the guest has arrived and somebody's got to go and deliver those flowers. They've asked for an like if they're on a 2-week booking and they want a mid-stay clean. It's all tracked. Yeah. So it's knowing, again, visibility of where they are in the journey, knowing exactly what needs to be done, and GuestFlow ties those things together, right? So that you can see everything in one place. You just select your reservation, everything is there.
It's about what's happening internally in your business behind the scenes. Who's touched it, who said what, but then it's also the messages with the guest, whether that's SMS, email, right?
Correct.
But we're not just relying on messages saying, hey, you need to do this, and here's a link to go and check in, or here's a link to go and pay your deposit, or here's a link to view your local guest guide. We want to simplify and improve that guest experience. So we've got the guest app as well. So it's one link throughout that customer journey, no matter what actions they need to take or information they need to get.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then something that's coming soon as well is SLAs, service levels, right? We want to respond to guests within 10 minutes of receiving a message, right? It's setting that up so that you can track whether you did deliver that service level that you want your team to deliver for that amazing guest experience, right? So service levels.
So and look, businesses will be able to put whatever rule set they want in for their business. What's important to you for a 5-star service,
Absolutely.
Another example might be, ensuring deposits have always been returned within 48 hours, let's say, of departure. And if that's not happening, it's being highlighted to you and it's being tracked and measured.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and all of your internal discussions, your team discussions, like a guest has asked for something specific. Can they bring a pet? Right. What are we going to do about that? I need to contact the owner of the property, right? Setting up the task, having the discussion, all of that being captured, all of the notes, the documents that are attached to that reservation, all in one place. Everything about that reservation in one place. That's what we're trying to achieve, to be able to give everybody that visibility.
Yeah. Brilliant. So, and then of course a lot of it is about property information, the rental information. So if the guest is on the phone or you're trying to progress that booking, having everything to hand, and not just the obvious stuff like the address and the number of beds, but Wi-Fi information, bin collection information, where's the video to the thermostat, give me a link to the street view, the photos, everything you might ever need when interacting with that reservation or in that rental on hand. Yeah,
absolutely. And this is not just about amenities, because Tokeet does a fantastic job of capturing all of that stuff. This is about things like who is the cleaner that we use, the housekeeper that we use for this specific property.
Yeah.
How do we get hold of the owner and the owner's details relating to that property?
Yeah.
Specific things about, like you said, when do the bins get left out, and
absolutely,
how do we recycle, and all of that kind of stuff, which is not amenities. It's more about delivering the guest experience and handling that side of things.
It's the knowledge base, and as when you're small or when you're running 1 or 2 sites, it's easy to go, well, this is the policy. But as you grow, you have to start embracing different ways of doing things and delegating and handing over to a team that are going to do all of those different things. Where do you hold those variables? It might be different deposit amounts, or it might be different delegated authority. How much are you allowed to spend on a maintenance item before having to contact the owner or use different people? And having that kind of knowledge on hand whenever you're dealing with a reservation that's in that property or any other task that's related, that's a game changer, right? And so that's what GuestFlow brings. So that's why we say it's very much a complementary app and solving a different set of challenges, but it really does then make you scalable. And we've seen this, right, Rash? We've seen it. We've seen, well, first of all, these problems that we've outlined, we've seen it in a lot of businesses. There are many problems out there, but we genuinely believe GuestFlow is that one solution to those problems, right? We've been working on this for years, Rash, you've got 30 years experience in this kind of thing, and we've been studying this problem and working with business owners on exactly these challenges, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, no, definitely. So this is, we're talking about the solution here. Tokeet GuestFlow is a fantastic solution to help you scale your business, and we've seen businesses use these two applications together and achieve incredible growth. Right? 3 times scaling of their business within 6 months. Right? That's where this solution can help.
Absolutely. So we've seen the growth, but we've also seen the efficiencies it brings as well. We've had another, 1 or 2 businesses that no intention to grow, but wanting to get control of their expenses, the guest comms, and just really make things efficient. And we've seen businesses make 30% savings, right?
Yeah.
So GuestFlow is nowhere near done either. This is very much a work in progress. So it's of massive high value where it is now. We've got lots and lots of businesses with us on this journey, which is very, very exciting. We've had 0 churn as well, I think, which is, it's worth pointing out. Not a single business that's joined GuestFlow has left GuestFlow. So that proves to us, right, we're on to a winner here. But we've got so many more features coming, and a lot of these features are going to be prioritized by our users, right? There's all sorts, and the roadmap's very big, but it is exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
So look, I think anyone who has signed up today on this webinar, you're going to get a very special link to explore GuestFlow, something that isn't public facing, but you'll be able to have a look at that. So otherwise, I am personally conducting completely free 30-minute demo strategy calls, so we can go through the product, we can go through the challenges you're facing, and we're just looking for a good fit here. There's, we genuinely believe GuestFlow is transformational for short stay businesses, and we're happy to have that conversation with anyone. So use the link and book on that below.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for attending. Really appreciate everybody's time. And look forward to more of these in the future.
That was good fun. Brilliant. Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.